The U.S. Department of Justice announced the unsealing of an indictment charging former Cuban President Raúl Castro for his alleged role in the 1996 incident that killed 4 people, including 3 Americans. And the move is certainly being viewed as an escalation in the Trump administration's pressure campaign against Cuba's communist government. But where all of this is headed is the big question. And joining us now to discuss this is Washington Stand reporter Yoey Suárez, who is our international affairs correspondent. He was exiled from Cuba during his investigative reporting about different things like torture, political prisoners, government blacklists, and freedom of expression and conscience. His story is absolutely fascinating. Yoey, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start with the 1996 incident. I just kind of remind our viewers and listeners what took place then and what the DOJ announced about it in regard to that earlier this week.
In the 1996, there was an organization of exiles who were traveling over the waters between Cuba and Florida, rescuing basically people who were trying to escape to the U.S. from the communist island. This organization was Hermanos al Rescate, or Brothers to the Rescue. And in February 1996, the Castro regime sent 3 MiGs, 3 jets, combat jets, to destroy those 2 small airplanes that were operated for that organization. And in this incident, they killed 4 people. 3 of them were American citizens. And now what happened yesterday is that the DOJ, as you mentioned, unsealed an indictment against Raúl Castro and several co-conspirators. And the charges presented in the indictment are conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals, 4 counts of murder, and 2 counts of destruction of aircraft. I can tell you, Jody, a lot of Cubans are happy. They feel that justice is in the way.
Wow. Well, I know we had you on, I don't know, probably a couple of months ago now, and that was right as pressure from the U.S. on Cuban's communist leadership intensified. So how does this announcement from the DOJ fit into all of this? Could this potentially lead to something more, do you think?
It's definitely more pressure over the regime. Havana have been playing games for way too long. They sent John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, weeks ago to Havana, and there were no considerations from the regime that in order to satisfy what the Trump administration is asking them, that is basically a change on policy, a change of the regime, in a way that is maybe similar to what we are seeing in Venezuela, but definitely a change. They have been playing games for way too long, and I think this add some pressure, some real pressure now to the leadership, which is Raúl Castro. The president nominally is Miguel Díaz-Canel, but he's just a puppet. The real man with the real power in Cuba is still Raúl Castro, who is 94 years old. And they are afraid, Jody, wow. I can tell you. Today they celebrated a protest in Havana in front of the American embassy, and Raúl Castro wasn't there. He is afraid.
Wow. So the Cuban people seem jubilant, excited, grateful for what's going on. What about the Cuban government? How are they responding to all this?
Well, as I mentioned, they say that it's just a propaganda campaign, that is not real, that these things didn't happen, as the DOJ is mentioning. They're trying to justify the military action against these civilian aircrafts in international waters. This is very important, international waters. So I think they're trying to push more propaganda over the people, but that's, I think, it's not smart now. People have social media in the island, especially Facebook is the biggest social media network there, and people are very well informed, better informed right now of what is happening. that maybe my grandparents or even my parents, the generations, the technological changes are changing also how people perceive what the government says.
What do you think the Trump administration is hoping will come out of all of this?
Well, Marco Rubio mentioned that they are trying diplomacy first. And I think this is part of, let's say, a moment before doing something more drastic. Let's put it that way. It could be what we saw in Venezuela in January the 3rd, extraction of Nicolás Maduro by a team. Maybe we can see something like that in Cuba. But I think the Cuban regime, they're gaining time. They're trying to make some time, especially until November, because they think a Democratic majority winning in the elections is going to give them, is going to put less pressure over them, and it's going to give them more oxygen. So they are trying to gain time.
Real quickly, 30 seconds, how do we best need to pray for Cuba and the Christians who are there?
Yes, I think praying for Cuba now is very important. The Christian leaders and the Christian communities organizing to resist the government now with more solidarity assemblies. I talked about that in the Washington Stand. You can consult that. But I think praying for Cuba now is very important. Yes.
It absolutely is. Washington Stand writer Yoey Suárez, international affairs correspondent, thank you for joining us so much.